Picture this. You're Keir Starmer. You've just woken up, scrolled through the morning briefings, probably had some bland porridge or whatever it is prime ministers eat for breakfast, and then your phone starts blowing up. 5 Labour councillors in London have just defected to the Greens. Not quietly resigned, not taken a sabbatical to find themselves. Defected, jumped ship, gone over to the other side. And the Green Party leader, Zack Polanski, isn't just accepting them with a polite handshake and a cup of tea. He's standing at a press event saying his party is ready to bury Labour at the next local elections. Bury them. Not beat them, not challenge them, not compete with them. Bury them. Like Labour is a corpse and the Greens are showing up with shovels. Welcome back to UK Political Insight, and today we're diving into the latest nightmare for Keir Starmer as 5 councillors bail on Labour, the Green Party swells to over 180,000 members, and the left flank of British politics starts looking less like a friendly coalition and more like a full-blown civil war. Grab your popcorn, because this one's spicy. Let's start with the basics. 5 councillors from the London borough of Brent, that's northwest London for anyone not intimately familiar with the capital's geography, have defected from Labour to the Greens. Now, 5 councillors might not sound like the end of the world. It's not like half of Parliament has walked out. But here's why this matters. These aren't random backbenchers who've been coasting along doing nothing. This group includes a former cabinet member, Harby Farah, and a former whip, Iman Ahmadi Mohammed. These are people who were in positions of authority within the local party structure. They were trusted. They were part of the machinery. And now they've publicly said, thanks but no thanks. We're off to join the Greens because Labour doesn't represent our values anymore. That's not just a defection, that's a statement. That's a big flashing neon sign saying something is deeply broken inside the Labour Party. The other 3 who defected are Mary Mitchell, Tony Ethapami, and Erica Gbajimo. Now here's where it gets interesting. 4 of these 5 councillors, Farah, Mogadam, Ethapami, and Gbajimo, were actually deselected as Labour candidates earlier this year. Labour's official line is that they fell below the standards we require of those seeking to represent the party. Translation, they were kicked out. So Labour is trying to spin this as, oh well, these were people we didn't want anyway, so who cares if they've defected? But that's a bit like dumping someone and then acting unbothered when they start dating your more attractive, more interesting rival. You can say you're fine with it all you want, but everyone can see you're seething. Mary Mitchell, one of the defectors, gave a really revealing quote. She said the group felt unable to represent their communities as Labour members. She said they always knew being a party of government would test the party's principles and values, but they've watched as on every issue, this government goes further away from Labour's founding principles of democracy, social justice, and equality. She went out of her way to say they respect many of their hard-working Labour colleagues in Brent, but the party doesn't represent the values they hold anymore. That's devastating. That's not someone leaving over a personal grudge or a local spat. That's someone saying the Labour Party has fundamentally lost its way. And when you're hemorrhaging people for ideological reasons, that's a much bigger problem than losing them over personality clashes or administrative issues. Now let's talk about Zack Polanski, because this guy is having an absolute moment. He's the Green Party leader, and he's not being diplomatic about any of this. He welcomed the defectors at a press event and said Labour is broken and the Greens are ready to bury them at next year's local elections. Bury them. That's fighting talk. That's not the language of a minor party happy to pick up a few extra seats here and there. That's the language of a party that thinks it's about to eat Labour's lunch, steal Labour's voters, and turn the left flank of British politics into Green territory. And you know what? He might not be completely deluded, because the numbers back him up. Green Party membership has absolutely exploded under Polanski's leadership. In September, they had 70,000 members. Now they've got over 180,000. That's not a modest uptick. That's not a small surge. That's a more than 2.5 times increase in a matter of months. To put that in perspective, the Lib Dems have around 120,000 members. The Greens have blown past them. They're now a serious political force in terms of grassroots support, money, and activist energy. And all of that growth is coming while Labour is in government, which tells you everything you need to know about how the left views Starmer's administration. They're not inspired. They're not energized. They're jumping ship to a party that they think actually represents their values. The big question everyone's asking is whether this spreads beyond councillors. Could Labour MPs start defecting to the Greens? Polanski played it down, saying he's focused on winning Green councils and Green MPs starting from scratch rather than waiting for defectors. But he also said defectors are very welcome, which is politician speak for please, please come over, we'll roll out the red carpet. The speculation is real. Labour MPs, especially those on the left of the party who never wanted Starmer as leader in the first place, are watching this and wondering if they'd be better off elsewhere. The Greens have 4 MPs now after the last election. If they pick up a couple of Labour defectors, suddenly they're a parliamentary group with real clout. That changes the dynamic entirely. And this is all happening against the backdrop of Starmer's catastrophically bad polling. He's less popular than Liz Truss. Let that sink in. Liz Truss, the woman who was prime minister for less time than most people keep leftovers in the fridge, is currently more popular than the sitting prime minister. Labour MPs are nervous. They're looking at their local election results, they're looking at the polls, they're looking at the Green surge, and they're thinking, are we backing the right horse here? Some of them are starting to wonder if Starmer is an electoral asset or an electoral liability. And when MPs start wondering that, defections become a real possibility. Labour's response to all of this has been predictably defensive. Their London spokesperson said the party operates rigorous and transparent selection processes and maintains the highest standards for candidates. Then they took a dig at Polanski, saying his approach suggests a far lower bar for entry, raising serious questions about the level of scrutiny and judgment applied in the Green Party. That's a bit rich, isn't it? You deselected these councillors because they supposedly didn't meet your standards, and now that they've gone to the Greens, you're questioning the Greens' judgment for accepting them. Which is it? Are they decent councillors who you've lost, or are they substandard and the Greens are welcome to them? You can't have it both ways. The Labour spin is incoherent, which suggests they're rattled. The statement also said they look forward to the 2026 local elections where they'll stand on a proud record of delivery, working hand in hand with a Labour mayor and a Labour national government to deliver for the people of Brent. Proud record of delivery. Let's unpack that for a second, shall we? Labour has been in government for about a year and a half, and what have they delivered? Stealth tax rises that hit working people, national insurance hikes that are costing jobs, an economy that's flatlining, businesses fleeing the country, pensioners losing winter fuel payments, a collapse in public trust, a $31 billion U.S. tech deal suspended because Trump doesn't think Britain is a credible partner. That's the proud record? If that's what counts as delivery, I'd hate to see what failure looks like. Here's the thing about local elections. They're often a protest vote against the national government. Even when your party is in power nationally, local elections can be brutal if people are unhappy. And right now, Labour voters, especially those on the left, are very unhappy. They feel betrayed. They feel like Starmer ran as a soft left unity candidate and then governed as a centrist technocrat who's more interested in appeasing big business and Middle England than he is on delivering for the Labour base. The Greens are capitalizing on that. They're positioning themselves as the real left-wing alternative, the party that actually believes in bold climate action, wealth redistribution, social justice, all the things Labour used to stand for before they decided electability meant sanding off every rough edge and interesting idea. The defections in Brent are a microcosm of a much bigger problem for Labour. They're bleeding support on the left. The Greens are hoovering it up. And if this pattern repeats itself in other councils across the country, the 2026 local elections could be an absolute bloodbath for Labour. Imagine the headlines. Labour loses hundreds of council seats to the Greens while in government. That would be politically catastrophic. It would raise fundamental questions about Starmer's leadership. It would embolden his internal critics. It might even trigger a leadership challenge, though that's still a long shot given how recently he won the general election. Polanski's "bury them" comment is the kind of rhetoric that gets people energized. It's bold, it's aggressive, it's confident. Whether he can actually deliver on it is another question, but the fact that he feels comfortable saying it out loud tells you the Greens think they're on the up. They've got momentum, they've got money, they've got members, they've got defectors jumping ship from Labour, they've got 4 MPs in Parliament. They're no longer a fringe protest party. They're a legitimate political force, especially in urban areas and among younger left-wing voters who feel completely alienated by Starmer's Labour. Let's talk about what this means for Starmer personally. He's already dealing with rock-bottom approval ratings, economic stagnation, international humiliation with Trump pulling the tech deal, and now he's got a full-blown defection crisis on his hands. 5 councillors might not sound like much, but it's the symbolism that matters. These are people who were inside the Labour tent, who were part of the structure, who've now publicly said the party has abandoned its principles. That's going to resonate with a lot of Labour members and voters who feel the same way, but haven't taken the leap yet. Every defection makes the next one easier. It normalizes the idea that leaving Labour for the Greens is a legitimate, principled choice rather than an act of betrayal. And then there's the possibility of MP defections. Polanski says he's not focusing on that, but come on, of course he's thinking about it. If even one Labour MP crosses the floor to the Greens, it would be seismic. It would dominate the news cycle for weeks. It would trigger a full-blown crisis for Starmer.